Okay. Hello, everyone.
Good morning. Happy 4th of July, which today it is.
Welcome back to Effing with the Ineffable. I'm Zoe.
I'm Smokey P.
And yes, today's the 4th of July. Happy Independence Day. This probably will not come out until tomorrow or the next day.
Who knows?
We'll see.
We're not getting paid for this.
When I have time
we
to
do
edit
it on our time.
It's been a very busy time recently because
Pourquoi?
we closed on our house, and so I've been trying to clean it, prepare it to move in, and all that stuff. So,
that sounds like a busy time.
it is a busy time.
Are you exhausted?
I'm pretty tired, although that's more just from not sleeping well last night.
Are you like a bicycle? Are you too tired?
Nah, I'm all right. I'm just
Dad
tired
joke.
enough.
Hashtag dad joke.
Yeah. So we just came from church.
We did.
Um,
Father Mick, whatever his name is, McMurtry.
Mick, whatever his name is.
McMuffin. Father McMuffin.
McCandless or something? Something like that. It was his last week.
Good guy. Always has good homilies. Today was a little phoned in, seems like.
Really? I thought it was good.
Was that right?
It was about Thomas More.
It was kind of like a continuation of the one that we heard a couple weeks ago, where he was talking about Thomas à Becket and Thomas More, which is good. Yeah, it's good. It was good.
Yeah, I only have one of my children here because my other
should be so energized, so fully rested, and you got to be able to take the world on one arm.
I'm not tired because of my kids. I'm tired because of the house.
Yeah.
Which is like my fourth child at this point.
You're tired because of what's your attitude toward the house? Perfection.
It's not perfection. It's I just want
everything must be boiled in bleach.
That's true. I feel like the people who lived here before never cleaned the house, and to be fair, they only lived there for 3 months. But
the house is only 3 years old.
I know.
How decrepit can it be?
It's not that bad, but there were parts of it that were pretty bad that needed to be.
Yeah, there's parts that if you don't pull out the stove and the fridge, and pull out the shelves in the stove and the fridge, they do get grimy.
Yeah. There were certain things I cleaned where I like dumped the water out afterwards, and I was like, this is like black water. It was not.
Oh, black water, keep on rolling.
So anyway, probably not that interesting, but that's been my life, is cleaning.
I fell asleep. Were you still talking?
Hey, if you want good cleaning advice, there's an Instagram account called Go Clean Co. I follow several cleaning accounts on Instagram.
You might be OCD if you have more than one cleaning account follow on Instagram.
I'm not OCD. Here's what I want. I want to clean as little as possible. So I want advice from people who know how to do it well, so that I don't have to do it multiple times. I don't have to waste my time doing it in a bad way. Part of what took me so long.
See, your mom and I have figured out how to handle the cleaning problem. Don't bother.
That's my husband's strategy too.
Mom cleans up when she's expecting company.
Yeah.
That's it.
And then
there's some sort of panicked
frenzy,
white tornado that hits the house.
Here's part of the issue. It was like yesterday. So we have all of this stuff in the house is brand new to me, because we just bought the house this week.
Right.
So the fridge is gigantic. I've never had a fridge like it before.
It's a nice big fridge.
I took out all the shelves and the bins and everything.
It's got ice and water in the door.
In the door, I know.
That's
this is part of the issue. So I took out all the shelves, the drawers, everything out of it, washed it all and left it overnight to dry. And then the next day I went to put it all back, and I literally had to Google what is the configuration of the shelves, because it's so complicated. This fridge it's from 2018, so it's pretty new. It's very high tech and fancy. It doesn't have like
it's not high tech enough to tell you exactly.
Yeah, it's not like a smart.
Drawers go.
It's not a smart refrigerator, but it is very high tech. Like there's so many drawers. I'm like, this is insane. So I had to Google it, and then like getting the ice. There's ice in the door of the fridge, but like to get the ice thing out, there was like ice all stuck in it. I had to like
chip it
Jimmy.
out.
So that took like there was like a 20-minute process of just getting the ice thing out of the door.
Oh, baby cardinals.
Anyway. Once again, seriously, probably not interesting to anyone, but
not at all. Let's move on to our today's topic.
Well, so we don't really
freedom.
We don't have much of a topic for today. This is going to be kind of
it's 4th of July.
Winging it episode because
4th of July kind of begs for a topic, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we thought we'd just talk about the 4th and talk about the founding and, yeah.
Talk about what true freedom means.
I definitely think as libertarians, we would have been on the side of the revolution.
But as a Catholic, what does true freedom means? Father Dan always said true freedom means
the ability to choose the good.
The ability to choose the good.
That's what freedom is.
You're not addicted to things that are bad for you. You're not preferential toward things that are bad for others. You are not a slave of the devil. You are not a slave of yourself. You're not a pawn of the world. You are able to do what is good at the right time, for the right reasons, in the right way. And that is true freedom. And that's what Thomas More had. There we go. Tie it back together. Thomas More was willing to do the right thing at the right time for the right reason, even though it cost him his life.
Yeah.
That's true freedom. The others that were around him were not truly free because they were swayed by public opinion and by the tyranny of the government. So they were not truly free.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about peer pressure and superior pressure yesterday. Like peer pressure is one thing. It's another thing to say to not give in to superior pressure. And it's interesting.
So the pressure of illegitimate authority.
Yeah. I think that right now, I've been so while I clean, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I finished a whole audio book.
Was it about cleaning?
No.
Tidying?
No, it was
not.
Was
it Marie Kondo?
I did read her books several years ago, and I liked them a lot. I found them very helpful. That's a good book if you want to.
I got that book too. I use it to prop up some of the stacks of garbage that I have
in your house. Yeah. Here's the thing about I'll bring it back to true freedom. It was a helpful book to me because I have a hard time throwing things away or letting go of things that are nice that I feel like maybe we'll use it someday. Mm-hmm. And she says, like, if you're holding on to that stuff, first of all, like, there's lots of reasons that people do that, but it's like, if you're doing it because a family member gave it to you, they don't want you to have an obligation. They wanted you to have the gift. And in giving you the gift, that act is done.
They wanted to make your life nicer.
Better.
And if it hasn't, then...
So let it go.
Jettison.
So I found that book very helpful for freedom in terms of, like, I no longer feel the need to hold on to things, even if they're really nice. Somebody else can use them and be blessed by them and have a better time with them than me.
Yeah.
Anyway, the whole point of that was I'm listening to podcasts while I clean, and one of them is Catholic in a Small Town, who I've literally been listening to. I think they're coming up on their 15th anniversary of their podcast.
Wow, nice.
They've been doing it since they were like one of the very early podcasts.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. And I've been listening to them since, like, for over 12 years. So I've been listening to them for a long time. I haven't listened to every episode.
Early adopter.
But I really like their show. And it's funny because
it only took them 3 years to get into your ears.
When I started listening to them, I was a Catholic in a small town.
Mm-hmm.
Now
you're going to be a Catholic in a small town again.
It's not really a small town. Well, I guess
you're
town.
You're in a small suburb.
Yeah. The town that I live in is technically small, but
you're not even in town, are you? Officially, are you officially in town?
We are officially in the same town as you, but like that's what it says on our address.
We're not even in the city limits.
But we're like in the boonies.
Yeah.
We see all the stars at night. It's really nice.
That is nice.
It's really nice. It's like total. It's actually, my husband was saying.
Did I mention the fireflies last week? Because the fireflies have just been astounding.
Crazy
lately.
here.
It's been like Christmas trees.
Yeah.
It's just so.
They just twinkle.
Scintillating.
Yeah. We've been living in a 7th floor apartment building in a very busy part of town, in a very big town for the last 2 years.
Never saw the stars.
And it's just interesting how
could hardly see the sun.
I was freaked out walking to my car from in my own driveway at night because there's literally no lights anywhere. And
yeah.
Because at like 10:30 at night when I'm done cleaning.
What are you afraid might be out there? See, you're still assuming. Well, maybe there's
bad actors.
Maybe there's bad people out there.
Now I actually
there's no people out there.
I mean, there might be bears.
In space, no one can hear you scream.
There might be bears near us. I mean, now it's more likely to be like a deer or a squirrel or something. But anyway,
right.
All that to say, Catholic in a small town.
Yeah.
We're really getting on
track. Did it have
track.
something to do with freedom?
God, why did I bring this up? I did have something to do with it, but what was it about?
I don't know. I was successfully distracted you from that pointless tangent.
Go listen to them if you haven't listened to them. They're very good, and they talk about. So we were talking about freedom and being able to say no to non-legitimate authority, right? And they were talking in an episode which I really found very good. I'll try to link it below. About how right now we are living through a time as Catholics where we feel like. Some Catholics feel like the Vatican isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing. The church hierarchy isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing, especially with all the COVID stuff. It's been like a frustrating thing for some people in some places because we feel like the church isn't like doing their duty. The church administrators aren't doing their duty to
And again, I come back to the church administrators are just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
What about all the idol worshipers?
Yeah, but
IDLE, the ones who are doing nothing to promote the church and to advance the church.
Yeah.
They're like, the church is failing because the people you are the church.
Yeah. The
church is not failing because of anything other than your lack of will to make it succeed. It would succeed.
Let me turn this off.
It would thrive if everybody decided that they were going to work on
numero uno. Well, and they said there was a poll that came out post-COVID that said like 72% of Catholics don't believe in the true presence of the Eucharist or something. And
wow, it's gone down even more.
And they were saying like that's a shocking statistic and it's hard to believe it. But the other thing they said, which is hopeful, and at the end, and I think this is a really good point, is like
that means 28% still believe.
That's
a pretty good remnant.
Well, they said like the young people. Hard times make good saints, right? Like, and this is a hard time, and it's just like Thomas More, going back to that. He became a saint because he had the fortitude and the courage to stand up to people in an extremely difficult time. And I think,
and he became a public saint because he was born in a time where they were cranking out martyrs.
Yeah,
they're not cranking out martyrs the way they used to. Today we got to be martyrs in a little bit less of a dramatic fashion.
Well, we were talking
we can't go get beheaded.
But
who gets beheaded anymore?
But you can get canceled, which, listen,
I'm not
saying being canceled is the same thing as being martyred, but I am saying I have to raise my kids in a world where they're going to have to be extremely countercultural to the prevailing narratives and the prevailing ideas of the day, and that is something that will get you socially martyred. My kids will have to be a social martyr.
You will be a pariah.
And I thought they made another awesome point, which I thought this was so good. They said, she teaches at a hybrid Catholic school, so it's like part homeschooling, part like in-person school. And she said, like, we don't want to just like teach kids the faith and just like send them off and hope that they stick with it. She was like, we need to ground these kids so deeply in the truth, in the Catholic truth, that to stray away from that would be unthinkable. And I was like, that is such a good philosophy of like, I want my kids to be so steeped in the truth that to stray from that would be unthinkable. I think that and that's another, that like going back to freedom, like that's, I want my kids to not just be obedient to what I say. I want them to have a well-formed conscience so that they can have the true freedom to make good choices. And that's a hard task. Obedience is easier than,
if you know the why of action, the how of action becomes a lot easier.
Yeah. Viktor Frankl said, or was it, well, he was quoting Nietzsche, I think, who said, like, the man who has why can bear any how. And that's, yeah, that's true. And I think that, like, I guess let's try to tie it back to, like, the founding of our country a little bit. I think that, like, the people who were really, truly pushing for the revolution, they had like serious reasons for doing it. I mean, they had like philosophical reasons for doing it.
They also had serious consequences for doing that. Everybody who signed the Declaration of Independence was signing their own death warrant relative to King George and the Brits, who were the biggest empire on earth at that time. You know, they were signing their own fatwa.
So there's a great movie called 1776. It's a musical.
Oh no.
I love the 1776.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Okay, in 1776, so I have a soft spot in my heart for John Adams. I want to make an episode someday talking about like our favorite presidents and like libertarian presidents and stuff. But so it's John Adams is the main character, and there's a lot of him talking to his wife, and she says like, who wouldn't want to be married to the man who was first in line to hang? Because like he was one of the people who pushed so hard for independence. He was the one who was constantly bringing up the push for independence, and it's like, yeah, he was first in line to hang. Like if the British would have won, he would have been one of the first people to be killed.
They had the potential to be actual like killed martyrs, but they were martyrs in terms of being witnesses of courage in the face of pretty strong odds against them.
Yeah.
So yeah, God bless them. They established on this continent a nation conceived in liberty.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal.
Yeah, I think that like the founding of our country was a libertarian act. It was a very libertarian thing to do.
Totally.
You know, like it's so hard these days to stand up to the prevailing narrative. Like even just thinking about like the whole masking, vaccine, passport, coronavirus thing, like there's a lot of, you know, like, but I worry for young people because now, like,
I worry too because the fervor for freedom has gone out. Just like, you know, you read the Bible, and the Bible is constantly the story of falling away from a sense of passion for conscious contact with God. Becoming completely depraved and corrupt and sacrificing your children to Mammon, and you know, and then having disastrous consequences, being conquered and obliterated, and then people get this like, how did that happen? Oh wait, yeah, we turned away from the very thing that was feeding our lives, and we started courting death. Oh, now that's why death has come to our door. And that's exactly what's going on in this country. It seems like, I don't know, maybe people have always been, you know, hullabalooing about oh, kids these days are really just, they don't know what's right, what's good, the value of a dollar. They don't have the fear of God.
Well, I think Thomas Jefferson said we're always one generation away from tyranny.
And this might be that generation.
Because his point was saying like, it's not like the principles of freedom are not inherited. You have to teach them, and you have to fight for them. And so if we don't teach the next generation why those things are important, they're gonna forget.
Right. They already have.
I mean, some of the next generation, yeah.
They don't. So many people already don't know why we have free speech, why we have the right to bear arms, why we have all the Bill of Rights. It's like, why do they need that? You know, why wouldn't they just trust the government to do the right thing and to make their lives better? Because isn't that what the government always does?
Or more importantly,
no, it doesn't.
Like, even more fundamentally, what a right is, and how we derive our rights, and how responsibilities always accompany rights.
Right.
And what those responsibilities are. Like, that's why a lot of people who wouldn't even necessarily fight against the right to free speech would say, yeah, but we should also have a right to education and a right to health care and a right to all those things.
Yeah, you do have a right to access that.
Yeah, but that's not what they mean.
Nobody should keep you from that. They're saying they have an entitlement.
Yes.
To
that's what they mean when they say a right.
No, because that entitlement comes at the cost of other people's
labor.
Yeah, other people's
goods and services.
Wealth. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have the right to make somebody else a slave. You can't.
Right.
You don't have a right to the benefits of other people's goods and services.
Change my diaper. Right now.
I don't know. What else do we want to say about the 4th?
I'm a big baby. What do we want to say about the 4th? Some people say that it's a celebration of a systemically racist setup that did not recognize all freedoms at once. That's true. They're right.
Yeah.
They're right about that. Nevertheless, it should be celebrated because it was certainly a step in the right direction. If that step hadn't been taken, the Juneteenth step wouldn't have been taken.
And the right of women to be considered equal citizens as men.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just racism, it's also the patriarchy.
Sexism and just liberty in general. Liberty has taken great leaps and bounds. However, some people want to take liberty to the point where it's not just, I should be free to do this. You need to
enable me.
Yeah, establish the conditions where I am able to do that. It's like, no, nobody said that. Nobody said they had to pave your way and carry you along the path. That's a trip you're going to have to make alone. But nobody should bar you from there. You know, it may be that the straight is the gate and narrow the way, but everybody should have access to that straight gate and that narrow way.
Yeah.
But nobody should have to carry you through that.
Well, and that's like, yeah, what you were saying about, you know, how technically, you know, when our country was founded, it was a country that didn't recognize the rights of all of its citizens. It didn't recognize the rights of African Americans. It didn't recognize the rights of women.
Right.
It still doesn't recognize the rights of the unborn.
Right.
But like, the nice thing about it was, we talked about this way back in the day about how in the Bible, like, kind of the +1 theory of morality, how God couldn't just say, like, here's all the ways that you should act, like the perfect way to act, going from 0 to 100 right away. Like, that's why people always criticize the Bible for being like, well, the Bible condones slavery, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, the rules imposed on slavery in the Bible were really radical compared to the lack of rules that was imposed on slavery before the Bible was established.
Right.
It's kind of the same thing with the founding of the country. Like, they knew, the founders knew that they couldn't just go from 0 to 100 and get everything they want right away, especially because watch 1776. It'll make that very clear. Like, the South was not willing to compromise on slavery at the time.
Right.
And so they knew that if they wanted to have a country, they were going to have to make compromises. And
well, if they wanted to have a country that included the South.
Sure. And the South had a lot of prosperity that it would have been hard. It would have been especially hard to fight against the British, especially if half of the people in your own new world were fighting on the British's side.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they could have done it, you know?
Right. So they kind of had to make a compromise solution.
But it's not just
even at the beginning.
Yeah.
Just practically speaking. Nevertheless, it was morally wrong to do that.
And not only that, of course that was morally wrong, but not only that, but they wrote, you know, the founding documents of our country in such a specific way that they knew someday, like, we will have enough people on our side to outlaw these things, because it does say all men are created equal. Like, and that was a fought over phrase, because they didn't want to say all men are created equal, but they had that specific language in there so that in the future they could use that to justify the abolition of slavery and the full incorporation of women into, like, the citizenship of the United States.
Yeah, it was planting a seed of freedom that still has not come to full blossom.
Yeah. Obviously, yeah.
And that's why we have to keep fighting for it, instead of just saying, "Hey, things are pretty good. Let's just rest on our laurels, on the laurels that have been planted by everybody before us. Let's just ride on those coattails." It's like, no, come on, time to get ourselves together and make something good happen.
Yeah.
It's up to us. We've been given great privilege.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm yawning.
With great freedom comes great responsibility.
Which is true.
Uncle Ben.
I don't know.
Not the rice guy, the Spider-Man. Okay.
Do we have anything else to say? Do we want to make this just short and sweet?
We can make it short and sweet. I don't know. That's anything else that creeps into your mind about. I think the fight for freedom goes on. And I think if people feel like, oh, freedom has been won, and now we just have some details to hash out, that's not true.
Yeah.
The forces against freedom are always going to be joining and trying to erode our liberties and try to infringe upon our personal independence.
And I mean, if you need any proof of that, just look at the rise of the socialism in the United States, especially in younger people. I mean, there's a lot of, like, millennial
socialism on one side, fascism on the other.
Yeah.
It's a constant battle to keep the rights of the individual paramount.
Yeah,
because people are gonna want to say, oh, you know what, you need to sell out some of your freedom in order to make things nicer for everybody. It's like, no, the way to make nice things for everybody is to help everybody be free to make the life that they want and can make for themselves.
Yeah.
Not leeching off of others. That doesn't really ennoble anybody.
Yeah.
Not dominating others. That doesn't really ennoble anybody. It's constant. The struggle against the world, the flesh, and the devil. It's spiritual warfare. Father, what was his name? Karapi, who's no longer a father. Apparently, he was one of the casualties in the spiritual warfare. But he said, if you were at war and you didn't know it, you'd be really vulnerable. Well, you're at war. You better know it. The world, the flesh, and the devil are conspiring against you, trying to ruin your soul, trying to get you to degrade yourself and to sell yourself for some possessions or some power or some kind of privilege or just some approval from, you know, from some so-called superiors, or whatever.
Or even just lots of your peers.
Yeah.
Twitter likes and
right.
And Instagram follows.
Facebook friends.
Yeah.
I've got 10,000 Facebook friends. I am awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't, like, yeah, when you say that, like, the fascism on one side and socialism on the other, like, they're both the Democratic and the Republican Party want to take away your freedoms, sell you some freedoms at the cost of others.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's a fight that we libertarians are constantly striving to fight against.
They're always wanting,
like a losing battle.
They're always wanting you to trade the true value of your freedom for the false promises of their magic beans, whatever that might be.
What's that?
Governmental power.
Ben Franklin, I think it was Ben Franklin, had a quote that was like, men who would trade their freedom for security deserve neither.
Yeah, don't deserve it.
Yeah, like, which
and that's
is true. And that's what the vast majority of political pundits, of people who are on the right and the left, just people in general in the US would do, is they want to trade their freedoms for security.
And we don't want to sound like those Viking horned maniacs who attacked the Capitol or anything like that. But there is a war at hand. There is a battle to continue to be waged. Hopefully, we can be civil about our civil disagreements and not have to come to blows about it. But who knows? It's happened before. It may happen again. If we let it go too far, it will come to that. So hopefully we can fight back against some of the tides that are eroding the shores of freedom right now, and try to stem those off, try to push them back a little bit so that we don't have to go completely hostile.
All right, so once again, let's go back to, just like we did last week, like, what is our scope of influence and how are we going to push for freedom within our scope?
Good. Thanks. That's what I said, right?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that's an important point, because
it's not up to the bishops to make the church better.
Yeah, you can.
It's not up to the politicians to make America better. It's too important to leave that to the politicians.
Yeah.
Life is too important to let politicians decide how it's going to go. America is too precious to put it in the hands of presidents and generals and senators and House members and whatever, especially those who are all political party hacks.
Yeah.
They don't deserve any of it.
Yeah.
They deserve a good, strong thrashing.
They're all just so fake. Yeah, I can't even listen to them.
Now I sound like the guy with the horns on his head who's ready to storm the Capitol. We're gonna give him a thrashing.
You got coffee grounds all in your teeth, which isn't helping. Okay, well, what's your scope of influence? What are you gonna do to promote liberty or promote freedom, the ideals of freedom?
I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna talk about it. I don't know. I don't know what I can do other than live my life on my own terms and preach the gospel at all times, and if necessary, use words.
I'm still under the belief that I think voting does matter. Like, we've discussed this before, but I do think voting matters. I think and
I think not voting matters. That to refuse a vote to
conscientiously
who don't deserve it.
voting.
Don't make that compromise anymore. We're way past the time when compromises are necessary. It's, there's enough basis of freedom in this country to be able to say we deserve to have good representatives. And if we can't get somebody that's worth voting for, then damn it, I'm not going to vote.
I mean, I agree with that. Like, I don't think you should. Do I think that I compromised in the last two elections? Yes. But do I think that,
not sure I haven't compromised in every election
Well,
I've ever
and I
voted
do.
for.
I think that
And
no
I'm sick and
matter
tired of it.
no matter what you vote for in the presidency, I think your local elections matter a lot more.
They do.
And there's a lot more.
They should.
Yeah. Well, they matter more in the sense that there's less people voting for those things.
Mm-hmm.
So you have more influence with your vote. So I think even if you don't vote for the presidency, I do think, like, I try to always vote Libertarian. Now, once again, the Libertarian Party sucks, so sometimes the Libertarian Party candidate is not really the best choice, but I try to vote philosophically Libertarian on all the way down the ticket, and I actually do my research, and I, like, even with, like, the water and soil commissioner and that kind of, like, that matters. Those people are making decisions that matter.
Yeah.
So anyway, voting, I think, is one thing. Another thing is, like,
what people can do with their land, that matters a lot.
Yes, as somebody who just bought some property that I want to do some things with,
I want to be able to have somebody who says, you know, I want the guy from Parks and Rec who says, I'm not gonna get in your way.
Yeah.
Do your thing.
Another thing that I think matters a lot is voting with your dollar. Supporting companies that you believe in, that support the things that you like. That matters a lot to me. Like, and this is hard. If you want somebody, I like Instagram. Like, I know social media is kind of dumb, but I like Instagram. I think it's a good place to find community. There's a Catholic woman who has an account called, I think it's the Essential Mothering or Motherhood or something. Anyway, she posted a while ago, she's like, I want a skincare company that doesn't promote socialism, like LGBTQ stuff, like all this stuff. And it's extremely hard to find companies that don't come out and say, hey, it's Pride Month, we're gonna change the color of our logo for the month. Like, which is such an empty gesture, but it's still just like a virtue signaling idiotic thing to do. And if that's something that you agree strongly, like, if that's something that you disagree strongly with, then I can understand not wanting to support those people with your dollars. And I think that supporting companies that do promote freedom and not idiocy in things that I disagree with is important to me. So that's another thing. And then obviously, like, teaching my kids and promoting those values in my family, reading the Tuttle Twins with my kids. I think the Tuttle Twins is a great series that talks about, like,
listening to 1776 with the kids.
Yeah, listening to 1776, talking about we're buying artwork for our walls, and one of the pieces of art that, like, some of the artwork that we're buying are portraits of George Washington and George Washington crossing the Delaware, and like Frederick Douglass, people who like are important, and like people who fought for freedom and stood up for what was right. Like, I think that stuff matters, and it matters enough that I want to teach my kids, like, these are the people that you should emulate, and not just like political people,
those are good actions.
But the saints, like, being saintly and courageous, and like going to mass and talking about people like St. Thomas More, who not only was a saint in the, you know, in the religious sense, but like he also was politically standing up. Like, it was a political move. Mm-hmm. He was standing up to a political leader, and I think that that's like an important thing. So
he was like a proto-martyr for religious freedom.
Yeah.
You know, within the secular governments. You know, he said, no, Henry, you can't create your own religion. There's already a religion that was created by somebody better than both of us.
Yeah.
The church.
And just because you have earthly power,
by Jesus, is still better than anything that you're going to be able to do. Sorry, I'm the king's good servant, but God's first.
Yeah, and just because you have earthly power doesn't give you the right to usurp what is, you know, what belongs to God. Give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and give to God what is God's.
Caesar, you can take what you need, but you don't
step on God's territory.
There's a line.
Yeah. So anyway, I do think those three things matter in my scope of, you know, my world. I think I really do think, like, spending my money in a way that corresponds to the values, and I think that, like,
that really is the way, you know. unfortunately, that is the way to impact. It'd be nice if reason mattered, but money is what matters. Money is what money talks,
Yeah.
and reason walks.
At least to like these companies who virtue signal that they care about stuff, but really when things affect their bottom line, like even look at the I'm gonna like listen, sports is not my forte, so I'm gonna probably mess this up, but like the NBA was coming all out against China, and they just have a bunch of like dumb, like kind
Some
of
people said some things about Hong Kong.
yeah, like leftist policies, and they, you know, like, and not only that, but also like the whole Black Lives Matter push from the NBA, like wearing stuff on the court that says stuff about that. Like they started to lose viewership because of the agendas that they were pushing.
Yeah.
And so then the organization had to come out and say, we're not going to let you like push your personal agendas, which no matter, like, I think that pushing your agenda is good in a way, because I don't want to support somebody who has a secret agenda, but at the same time, like, I think it's good for the company to be like, hey, this is affecting our bottom line, and so we're not going to let you woke us into the ground anymore, especially if we don't believe it.
So if there needs to be a woke basketball association, some of the guys should get together and make that and say, you know what, we don't want to be told what we can't say, what we can't wear. Same thing as the NFL. You know, people wanted to be kneeling during the declaration
anthem.
The national anthem.
Yeah.
And, you know, if people want to do that, that's fine. Other people are going to get turned off by that, though. And so there ought to be a market for that. There ought to be a free market for all of it. The NBA has a certain kind of monopoly right now, just like the NCAA has for college basketball. And those things are, it's crony capitalism is what it is. And they do pander to the bottom line. They don't really represent anybody's values. They represent profit making. They take polls and they say, what's popular for us? Should we should we behead somebody in the middle of the court? Would that boost viewership, or would that turn people off? You know, how would that affect our bottom line? You know, and that's what they go on. They don't care what's right or wrong. They care what sells. They're not, and that's fine. That's what the market is about.
Yeah.
It's us consumers who have to care about what's right and wrong, and put our dollars where they matter, you know, and spend according to our values.
Yeah.
Their values are going to be trying to get money out of our pocket. And if we're fools, we're going to be separated from our money soon enough.
Yep. So
is that it? Is that good?
I think that was sufficient talking about freedom.
I apparently need more actual liquid coffee because I'm down to
just the
stems and seeds again.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us. I hope this was somewhat. We just kind of winged it, but I think it was a good discussion.
We winged it in contrast to our usual highly prepared.
At least if you take nothing else away from it, at least think about how you can promote freedom, religious freedom and political freedom and all kinds of freedom in your own domain, because everybody has a different state in life. In
our own dojo.
So, thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you next week.
God bless everybody.
Bye,
Be
everyone.
good. Be free.